Welcome to DayTraderSetups.com TC2000 Training video series. Getting started. Sometimes when you first sign up for a new piece of software, it can be rather overwhelming. So we've created this series to get right to the point, to the task at hand, the things you're trying to learn the quickest without having to watch multiple lengthy videos at TC2000, although they are very helpful. We're going to cover basic chart setup, creating your first layout, adding indicators, and we have a page you can link to the education, or you can go to TC2000.com, click on education, tutorials, and they have a complete list of tutorials that are detailed, and we just trying to cover a lot of things that you may not see on here at all. But you can go to our website, daytradersetups.com, under our TC2000 training page, and you can link to our full series of tutorials from there to our YouTube channel, and you can also link directly to TC2000 education page from there, just as a easy way to find it for you as you're working with your new software. First, we're going to start out with getting your first layout going. You're going to open your TC2000. It's going to open to a default page. I'm not sure what it is, but you can click here, new layout, and lots of things to choose from. I'm going to use this for an example just to show you how you can create boxes and so forth. From here, I just want to show you how you can have multiple boxes. You can take these and you can split them sideways. You can split them horizontally. You can add things in them. Easy scans, charts, news, or you can open those items and just add them on your own. I'm going to go back to starting from scratch and then building from there. So I'm going to close this one without saving. Anytime you close something without saving, you can say, you can rename things and save them. But if you want to close something without saving, close without saving. It'll prompt you every time. And this is kind of what I'm going to show you how to create. But first, here's how we're going to do it, one step at a time. I start with just a one chart, one frame window. This is just their basic chart they brought in. If you go to charts, they got a blank chart that opens up like this. And I'm going to start you from right here with this process. We're going to take this first of all. We're going to move it. And we're just going to swap it with this chart. We'll close their chart out. From this basic chart, walk you through the steps. First, we're going to edit the chart properties. I like the price style of the candlestick. I want net change. Give me two colors. I want the open versus the close. Then I always want to show yesterday's close and today's open. Real important that you're aware of where they are, because they're real important when you're trading. I change mine to a solid line. On the close, I use yellow. I make it 100% because I want to be able to see it. Watch this line right here get a little darker. And I do the same thing on the open price. I change it to a baby blue. Also change it to a solid line. And I always show the bid-ask values. This is plot opacity. You can slide this back and forth, which in this case is tied to the candles. Watch the candles dim and come back up. Of course, you don't want to dim your candles, but there's other things you may want to dim in the background a little bit as you build different indicators on your charts. editing the plots, I never edit them from here. All we have on here right now is if you have Bollinger bands and things of that nature, you can edit from here. I just edit right off the chart once I create it. Posting pre-market data, I always set mine to never. If you use the outside market hours and you have Bollinger bands or RSI or MACD or whatever your indicators are, they're calculating using the information outside normal trading hours, and I want my indicators based on inside normal trading hours. Scaling, I don't do anything here. I go with the default. Comparisons, some people like to overlay the SPY, overlay the Qs. I don't want to overlay anything. You can do industry sectors, industrial index, color grid. I choose black as my background. If you wanted to tone it down a little bit, you can. You could go to a lot of people like white. Gradient makes it more gray, or you could choose a gray. I personally like the black background. Grid lines adjust some of these up and down the price. Those are kind of in my way, so I keep them very minimal. Just go with the default on most all this stuff. The watermark is your symbol in the background. You can brighten it up if you need to see a little better. I like mine just very dim, but I do want to see what it is. And the value size adjusts this column out here. I like it where it is. And then this is something, if you're doing the options part of the data feed, you can pay extra for option information, and you can choose to plot the underlying stock and the option, or just the stock or just the option. I just do stock, so it really doesn't apply to what I'm doing, so I just leave it set to the default. So that's the first step in setting up your chart. Next, we're going to learn how to add indicators. One note I need to make about the open and close lines, TC2000. I hope they eventually get this corrected, but I want you to realize it's important to know when you're pulling back to the open or the close price, or trading back up into it, because a lot of times that's resistance. And about the only thing I complain about with TC2000 is this item. If a stock opens and it doesn't trade for the first 60 seconds the market is open, they will place on the intraday charts that the open was the same as the close. It opened at the close is what your chart's going to show you. So these two lines will overlay each other. So if you're glancing at a chart and you're like, I'm trying to find the open price, and you don't see it, it's probably overlaid with the closing price. If you go out to the daily time frame and that same occurrence occurred where it was after 60 seconds when the first trade was made, they do correct the daily candle at that time. So the open price on the daily candle is correct, but they are not correcting it on the intraday time frames. Myself and many other traders, I'm sure, have complained about that. I've actually had a case where the stock was drawing back to the open. Had I known it was at the open, I'd have been looking for it to bounce, which it did, and I missed a trade because I didn't put the emphasis on where it was at. But anyway, it's just something you have to deal with. Every piece of software has got something you don't like, and that's the one thing I don't like. Everything else I love about TC2000. I've been a user for over 3 years. And what I like about it is I'm a big scan person. You can't find a trade if you can't scan for the setup to begin with to start watching the stock. Many different setups are available. A lot of traders like to trade the pullback and the bounce, the breakout. I've got several different ones I like from both of those scenarios. But TC2000 is the only software I've found that can run a lot of scans on a lot of symbols without locking up. Other platforms I've tried, I'm not going to call any names, but you have a limit of how many symbols you can bring in, 200 to 500. You have to pay for your data by the number of symbols. TC2000, you pick your plan, you pay for your data, and you got access to over 5,000 symbols. And you can scan 5,000. Now it will sometimes, if you maybe have 15 or 20 scans running in one layout tab like I do. I have all these scans running, and if you had them on 5,000 symbols and then filtering down by volume and so forth, it could occasionally, when the market's real busy, lag on bringing those in. But I actually take 5,000 symbols and I narrow it down, and then I scan my smaller list, and I'll show you how to do that in other videos. To continue on here, adding plots. You're going to add your plots with this green X next to your symbol. One other thing I need to show you how to get these right here on your chart. Under settings, you go to charts, and this section right here, show buttons. You can click what you want to see, and by doing that, this will show up across the top of your chart. And then you can move from 15 minute to 5 minute to 2 minute, 3 minute, whatever you need to do very quickly. So I recommend those settings. I'm going to go back to say a 10-minute chart here. Now you're going to add your plots, your indicators. We're going to first I'm going to add a moving average. You can search, and then we'll go down. You've got exponential, front weighted, hull, simple. I'm going to do a simple. You always select, if you have other things in this list, you want to subtract the name of the company, which is going to be your price candles. The default is 50. We're going to go edit. We're going to make this a 8, and I'm going to leave it yellow. Now change the name to moving average 8. I don't like to take up this much room up here, so I'm going to edit it again. I'm going to put down here 8 MA. Change the name for you. If you wanted to change this to exponential, you can do that without having to go back and add that plot individually by just simply changing it here to exponential. And when I do that, I generally name 8 EMA. But in my case, I just want the simple, so I'm going to put it back. And if you wanted this to not be so bright, you can slide the opacity back a little bit, dim it down. Keep in mind, when you build the things you add, the order they're going to appear is pretty much going to be the order you put them on the chart. And I bring that to your attention because I'm going to show you what I do as you progress along. This is a pretty complicated chart, but in the top part up here, I'm going to turn off the pivot points. You've got Bollinger Bands, pivot points. This is a couple more Bollinger Bands. Your MAs would appear right here. Now, if you're at this point and I don't use MAs, but if you added one, it would actually, in this case, see where you get all your choices. You definitely want to stay on your price candles. In the case of the moving average, even with these other items over here, it places it right here. Bollinger Bands, it would place next in here somewhere if you added another set of Bollinger Bands. But once you get into a lot of custom PCFs on your upper candles, you want to add those toward the end, and you want to have a plan for what you're doing so that you can kind of have them in an order, because you want them in order so when you highlight the candle, the box pulled up on the left over here displays all those values. So if I'm trying to see right here what the value of this was, I can highlight it. I can see it's 87.72 over on the right hand side in a little white box that popped up. It's right in that area. Now I can glance at my pink boxes to the left, and I find 87.72 is the value of a pink line. So that's the value of this pink line. If I was trading down into here, this is what I'm interested in. This is an old low, so I can highlight again my pink line I know it's around 85.60. I glance to the left, I see it's exactly 85.60. So when this went down, the low was 85.60. Lo and behold, old resistance, still resistance. That's why I have these lines on my charts. And if you're following me, I'll teach you how to do that too. I'm going to close this chart back out, and the main reason I wanted to show you that so you'd see how putting this kind of information onto your chart, you kind of want it down the list. If you highlight a candle, the top part is going to be your prices and so forth showing up in this box, and your other indicators go down further and further. Everything I have down at the bottom part, if you look in the box to the left down in this area, the bull zone, the OBVs, and all those things down there, other than that SRS, they are true and false statements. So I don't need to see the value of those. If they're up, they're true, they're worth 100 points. If they're down, they're 0, they're false. And I set a lot of true and false indicators. I don't want to be rising like this SRS. I want it's either yes or no. No emotions involved in my trading. I'm going to close this chart back out because I'm just trying to show you that you need to avoid kind of plan out as you're adding your charts. So and you can save your charts, and then you can add to them and change them and so forth. I'm going to go ahead and save this chart. Save chart. First time you got to name it. After you've named it, it'll say save as. But I'm going to name this teach if I can find it. Let's see. Basic teacher. I knew I had a name in here for it. We're going to overwrite that because we're going to build it back again. So now that I've named it, I can right click it. The next time I want to save it, say it'll be save as. You've already got a name there, so it defaults right back to that name. If you want to rename it to something else as you make your chart grow, you can do that too. We'll work on that in the next step and continue adding more indicators. Okay, the first indicator we're going to add is going to be a Bollinger Band. Again, select your price candles as your source. You can go to edit and right here, data source. That's what we just selected. So if you mess one up and you click something wrong, you can go in here and change it. Say we had accidentally put it on the 8 EMA there. That's a Bollinger Band off the 8 EMA. Kind of like that actually. You can go back and change it to where it should have been. And I like a little lighter color for my eyes, so you can select your color. I normally do my Bollinger Band with the second level of the dash lines. I don't make it any darker. You can make it a little lighter if you wanted to. And if it's right in front of you on your screen, it's probably okay lighter. If you're using multiple monitors and maybe one of them's off to the side or up above you, and you find that maybe you get a little more glare or something on it, you probably want to keep them darker in that case. You can plot the center line on a Bollinger Band if you want to. That's just a 8. Simple moving average is all it is. Actually, it's a 20. So if you like the 20, you could put it on there by just doing that. You wouldn't have to have a 20 period moving average. If you had a Bollinger Band running on 20s, it's the same thing. I don't care about the center plot. I don't care about moving averages. Okay, we got that on there. And now we could save again. If you wanted to save your work, just automatically put your name there. Overwrite, yes. Now we're going to continue with some lower indicators. Very popular is the MACD. Again, not an indicator I use. You can put it in as the indicator lines, or you can put in the MACD. You see, I'm searching to get my list shorter here. Put my histogram. Let's say you did this and you want to move the histogram above the lines. You can, if If you X, you're going to close it out. And if you have multiple other items in this same area, it will X them all out. You have to select them individually and go to remove. But I'm going to show you how to move the MACD up above this. Click this area and we can insert it up here. I'm going to delete this, but I'm going to add another indicator to it first just to show you. Let's say we wanted to come in with I'm just going to throw something on here with the balance of power, which is not something I use. Some people do use it. I'm going to move this up with this MACD area, the MACD line, not the histogram, just to show you how you can do that. You can overlay it, and now you got them both in the same place. Now you can remove this, you can remove this, or if you click this X, they're all going away. They're gone. And then you can save again if you needed to. I'm going to go ahead and add the RSI. You got a Wilder's and a regular. Just put the normal RSI, and you can resize this. A lot of people like to first I'm going to recolor it to a little different color. And if you wanted to have this moving average line dotted, you could change that. A lot of people like to have the levels, the 70 and the 30 oversold and overbought. You can click on your indicator, horizontal lines, add a line. I'm going to add 2 lines at one time while I'm already here. You can do them individually. Then I'm going to say I want my top line to be 70. I want to make it green, and I'm going to make it dotted. Make my next line 30. I'll make it red, and I'm going to make it dotted. Now, if you did something like this and then you moved it, all the lines are going with it. Okay, now we've got this sized in a nice level. We'll bring our MACD back down. We'll go in and edit our MACD. You can change the numbers here. If there's something special you've been studying and you want to do, that's where you change it at. I'm going to change it to negative and positive colors. I'm going to make the upper part green, the lower part's red. Your zero line's already there. Now, if you did some kind of special MACD, you could actually rename it, or if you just wanted to shorten this up, you could rename it just to MAC D1226.9 if you wanted to shorten it a little bit, or call it whatever you want to call it. Again, we can resize it, and you can also resize this part here too as well. Sometimes things get a little out of whack. You can go up and down, bring it up from the bottom. Maybe sometimes I'm looking for one of my green lines on an old low or an old high pink line, and I'll raise it up trying to look where the next low is. I'm going to resave this. So now we've created a pretty nice chart, and let's add some other areas into our layout. We can rename this. I'm not going to name it yet. This is what I ended up creating earlier, just to know where we were trying to create here. So I'm just going to walk you through that process. One of the things we had here was another chart, so I'm going to start you adding extra charts. I keep a 10-minute and a 15-minute and a 2-minute, which I toggle those back and forth to other areas all the time. But if you don't have room for that, that's why you set this up, so you can just move back and forth between them. Another thing, notice just while I'm on this short time frame chart, when you have a little dash, that was probably a 0 volume candle. Alright, let's take it. Now we're going to add another chart. Now we can do this one of two ways. If you had a different chart you wanted to bring in that you had already saved, totally set up different, you could find it in your list of where you saved it. Or if we wanted to take the same chart we have, we can go right over here, can duplicate it. You can do whatever you want to with it from this point. I'm going to show you something that you'll use quite often. You can resize your main platform and place things outside of it that are independent, floating. So if you took this and said I want to, if you hit the wrong thing sometime, you can hit the escape button, it'll take you back to where you just were. If I want to float this out in a new window, I can float it, and now I can put it out here. And I actually, to keep the system from having to reload my charts with every time I change one tab to the next, my tabs are full of scanners. I have my charts floating outside, a set of charts that just are always there, so they don't have to reload each time. But you can have each one of your tabs have the charts in it or not. That's up to you. I'm just trying to make it quicker. But you can have this out here, and then you can create something like I did here that's actually floating independently. The method that you would modify this chart to look like something like this, I'm fixing to show you how to do inside this tab. But you could actually float a chart out and then create a group of windows within that one floating section. So this is all together here. So I'm going to close this back out for now. Actually, I'm going to show you a little trick. You can say, you can actually close it, you can move it inside, or you can undock it. That puts it back where it started inside this window. Now it's stuck in there again. Or you can just delete it and reopen it. So I'm going to go back to where we were. We're going to take this chart, and you can do one or two things with it. I'm going to move it. Well, didn't like that. Maybe because I undocked it and redocked it. So I'm going to close it out and open it again. DTS teacher. I'm going to take this chart. I'm going to move it. I can tab it. By tabbing it is now underneath the other chart. I'm going to now duplicate it again. If I duplicate it from a tab group, it's going to put another one in next to it. Sometimes I'll have something and I won't have it over here, and now I want it on the other side of this, so I'll duplicate it, have it over here, and I'll go back here and delete that one. I could go back to my charts and open another copy. This time I'm not going to tab it, I'm going to put it next to it. Like this. Now I've split my screens. If I resize, you can slide back and forth, make one bigger, focus in on it. Got a 10-minute. You could have this one over here be a, now see it stretched this out over here, so we're going to tighten it up again. It'll do that sometimes. And I may make this my 2-minute chart and make this my 5-minute chart, but you can switch back and forth. A lot of times this will be totally different. I don't know if I can show you that. Yeah, I can. One of the things I've got is I've got my 2-minute chart that I switch between 2s, 3s, and 5s during the trading day. I also have a little chart. This has pre-market data in it, and I also have my volume on there. I never use volume except for pre-market. If something's moving pre-market, I want to see, well, is it really moving or is it just sitting there? Occasionally I'll also go over here, something's selling off pretty hard and I know it had, or even going up from maybe a gap down, and I look at the pre-market data and I find my open line on there, and it's rising up into where it opened pre-market, which could be way above where it opened in normal trading hours. It could reject that line. So sometimes I like to reference this. So that would be a reason for having a different chart here in this tab. You could take this one and you don't have to save it. You can just edit the properties and say, I want to be outside normal business hours, normal trading times, and you could resave that as outside so that you would know, then the name would have it on there exactly what you were doing. But I'm going to leave it like this for right now. Now we're going to take and we're going to add these watch list. You could add scans or whatever you wanted to. Okay, we're going to now add a couple of watch lists. Go to watch list, and I'm going to bring out flagged. As I'm working through the day, as you saw here, I have my flagged list. I also have some custom columns that I can show you how to build in a later video. So I flag something and I use those columns to tell me when I need to look back, or it keeps me focused on what I'm trying to concentrate on. You can take this flagged, we can duplicate it and make it a different list here, or we can just move it. We're going to move it in this case. We're going to place it above this set of charts by using the up arrow. So now we still got our two charts down here, and we have a set of flag symbols. And you can do the watch list the same as we did these charts. You can put other ones in here and tab them behind this one, or what I'm going to do is put one next to it. We're going to open my favorites. I'm going to move that. I'm going to place it. I could tab it behind it, but I want it beside it, so I'm going to place it next to it. So now we've created two watch lists. We got three sets of charts all in our tab. And I actually, earlier when I made this, I took and renamed it as first layout. So to do that, you would take here, right click, rename. I'm going to just name this one first layout as well, because I don't need to create any extra ones. Now it didn't overwrite this in case this was slightly different. Until I save this layout, it's not going to do that. So I'm going to say save layout as. I'm going to save it here. It's going to know if I want to overwrite because I already have it there. I'm going to say yes. So anytime you're updating your layout, you just want to make sure you resave it. Part of TC2000. One thing I want to caution you on is if you make too many tabs, this thing gets so big when you go in to save your layout group, which is all these tabs combined. You can have a special name for that. It will get so large you can't stay connected to the server long enough to save it. Then they have a layout history, so you can save a backup here. It auto saves along the way as you're working, but you can save it. You'll actually, I got one down here that I got a manual on. A few days ago I actually saved a manually saved because I cannot save my layout group, it's so large. So I would suggest to you try to keep this to about 5 to 8 tabs, and then save your layout group, and then you can have other layout groups. Now one thing TC2000 does is when you shut down, you exit at the end of the day, it saves the settings and it reopens the next time exactly where you left it. I've only had one glitch in 3 years, and we restored it off that backup list from the day before. So that was the fail safe there. But by saving your layout tabs, if you ever had an issue, you can open your tabs back up and you've got your stuff back. So that's just a safety feature there. This is going to end our video for today. Don't forget, you can go to our website at www.daytradersetups.com. You can find this list of tutorials on the TC2000 Training page. You can access TC2000's education right from our website, and you can also sign up for TC2000 from our website, and you'll get a $25 off on your first month. And I'm later gonna, if you're not already using TC2000, I'm going to show you a great way to use it for paper trading on their website. I'll have to show this later. On their website, though, you can go in from my website to get your $25 discount, and they got 3 different packages, and you can take that medium package with live data, and for under $50 a month, probably something in the $42 to $43 including your data. It's a $29 package plus data. You can go in, have access to scanning 5,000 stocks, start learning how to set up your charts. You can paper trade right from the charts, so you can get a paper trade account with live data and learn to read your charts and learn to practice for less than $50 a month. Best money you'll ever spend. Thanks for watching. Watch for our next training series video, and like us on YouTube, subscribe to our channels, like us on Facebook. Thanks for watching.